Imagine a world without Saudi oil. Hard to fathom, right? For decades, Saudi Arabia has been synonymous with oil. Its vast reserves fueling not just its own economy, but also the global market. The very thought of these reserves running dry seems like a distant nightmare, a scenario relegated to the realm of fiction. Saudi Arabia, the land of vast deserts and seemingly limitless oil reserves, facing a future without its black gold. It seems impossible. The kingdom's wealth, its infrastructure, and its global influence have all been built on the back of this precious resource. The oil rigs, the refineries, the pipelines, all symbols of a nation's prosperity. Yet what if this scenario, once unthinkable, were to become a reality? What if the oil that has flowed so freely for decades suddenly began to dwindle? The implications are staggering, not just for Saudi Arabia, but for the entire world. What if the taps ran dry, the oil wells yielded nothing but sand, and the lifeblood of the Saudi economy simply ceased to flow? The bustling refineries would fall silent, the once busy oil fields would become ghost towns, and the economic engine of the kingdom would grind to a halt. The consequences would be seismic not just for Saudi Arabia, but for the entire world. The global economy, intricately intertwined with the price and availability of oil, would be thrown into chaos. Stock markets would plummet, oil prices would skyrocket, and nations dependent on Saudi oil would scramble to find alternatives. The global economy, intricately intertwined with the price and availability of oil, would be thrown into chaos. Industries reliant on oil would face unprecedented challenges, from transportation to manufacturing, and the ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the globe. Geopolitical alliances, built on the bedrock of oil dependency, would crumble. Nations that once courted Saudi favor for its oil might turn elsewhere, leading to a realignment of global power structures. Diplomatic relations would be strained, and new alliances would form in the quest for energy security. And Saudi Arabia, the desert kingdom that built its wealth and influence on a seemingly inexhaustible resource, would be forced to confront an uncertain future. The government would need to find new ways to sustain its economy, diversify its industries, and maintain its position on the world stage. This is the story of that future, a journey into a world reshaped by the depletion of Saudi Arabia's oil reserves. It's a tale of adaptation, where the kingdom must pivot from its oil-dependent past to a more sustainable and diversified future. It's a tale of economic upheaval, social transformation, and environmental rebirth. The shift away from oil could lead to a greener, more sustainable Saudi Arabia, but the path will be fraught with challenges and resistance. It's a story about adaptation, innovation, and the enduring human spirit in the face of unprecedented challenges. Engineers and scientists would work tirelessly to develop new technologies, while the government would invest in renewable energy sources and other industries to replace the lost revenue from oil. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because the ride is about to get bumpy. The transition from an oil-dependent economy to a diversified one will be a tumultuous journey, but it is a necessary one for the future of Saudi Arabia and the world. For decades, Saudi Arabia has been synonymous with oil. The vast reserves beneath its sands have fueled not just its economy, but also its influence on the global stage. It's the world's largest oil exporter, wielding immense economic and geopolitical power. The kingdom's wealth has been built on the back of this black gold, allowing it to play a pivotal role in international affairs. But imagine this: the oil wells run dry, the once bustling fields fall silent, and the lifeblood of the nation ceases to flow. What happens next? The Saudi economy, heavily reliant on oil revenue, would face an unprecedented crisis. The financial district, once a symbol of prosperity, would become a ghost town. The rial, pegged to the US dollar thanks to oil exports, would plummet in value. The currency's collapse would send shockwaves through the economy, affecting every sector. Inflation would skyrocket, eroding the purchasing power of ordinary Saudis. Everyday goods would become luxuries, and the cost of living would soar. Government spending, lavishly funded by oil wealth, would grind to a halt. The grandiose projects that once symbolized the kingdom's ambitions would be left in limbo. Mega projects, intended to diversify the economy, would be left unfinished. The vision of a post-oil future would remain just that, a vision. The House of Saud, which has maintained its grip on power partly due to its ability to distribute oil wealth, would face growing unrest. The social fabric, tightly woven with the threads of oil money, would begin to unravel. The social contract based on generous subsidies and government jobs would be broken. The promises of prosperity and stability would ring hollow. Unemployment would soar, particularly among young Saudis accustomed to guaranteed employment. The frustration of a generation with no prospects would boil over. The kingdom, once a beacon of stability in a volatile region, could teeter on the brink. The military, ever vigilant, would be on high alert. But even their presence might not be enough to quell the rising tide of discontent. The cultural and historical landmarks, once bustling with tourists, would stand empty. The allure of the kingdom, diminished by its economic woes, would fade. The contrast between the traditional and the modern, the desert and the city, would become starker. The dreams of modernization and progress would clash with the harsh reality of an oil-dependent economy in decline. Families and communities, the backbone of Saudi society, would feel the strain. The bonds that held them together would be tested as never before. The future of the kingdom, its youth and their education, would hang in the balance. The promise of a better tomorrow would seem increasingly out of reach. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there would be those who strive for change. The entrepreneurs, the innovators, the women entering the workforce, they would be the hope for a new beginning. The House of Saud may crumble, but the spirit of the Saudi people, resilient and determined, would endure. The dawn of a new era, though uncertain, would be on the horizon. The end of Saudi oil would have profound social implications. For decades, Saudi citizens have enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle subsidized by oil wealth. Free healthcare, education, and even government jobs have been the norm. But without oil revenue, these privileges would vanish. Imagine a Saudi Arabia where citizens have to pay for healthcare and education, where finding a job is a struggle, not a given, where the social safety net woven with threads of oil money unravels. The social fabric of the kingdom, accustomed to oil-fueled prosperity, would be strained. The gap between rich and poor, already significant, could widen. Social mobility, once within reach for many, might become a distant dream. Frustration and resentment could boil over, leading to protests and unrest. The Saudi government, used to ruling with an iron fist, would face unprecedented challenges in maintaining order. The end of Saudi oil wouldn't be all doom and gloom. In fact, it could mark the beginning of a new era for the kingdom, one where environmental sustainability takes center stage. It's easy to overlook the environmental consequences of Saudi Arabia's oil addiction. The relentless pursuit of oil has led to significant environmental degradation, affecting air quality and public health. The relentless extraction and burning of fossil fuels have taken a toll. The heavy machinery, the burning oil flares, and the constant emissions from refineries have contributed to a deteriorating environment. Air pollution in major cities is a serious concern. The smog that blankets cities like Riyadh is not just an eyesore, it's a health hazard, contributing to respiratory problems and other health issues for the population. Desertification, fueled by climate change, is encroaching on precious farmland. The once fertile lands are turning into deserts, making it harder for local agriculture to thrive and threatening food security. But imagine a Saudi Arabia freed from its dependence on oil. A country that invests in renewable energy sources like wind and solar power, transforming its vast deserts into hubs of clean energy production. The skies above Riyadh, no longer choked with smog, would be clear and blue. The air would be cleaner, making the city a healthier place to live and work. The desert, no longer scarred by oil spills and pipelines, could begin to heal. Native plants and wildlife could return, restoring the natural balance and beauty of the landscape. Investment in renewable energy, driven by necessity, could transform the kingdom into a global leader in sustainability. Solar farms and wind turbines could become common sights, symbolizing a new era of clean energy. The environmental benefits of a post-oil Saudi Arabia would be felt far beyond its borders. The kingdom's shift to renewable energy could inspire other nations to follow suit, creating a ripple effect of positive change. As a major contributor to global carbon emissions, the kingdom's shift away from fossil fuels would be a boon for the fight against climate change. A significant reduction in carbon emissions would help mitigate global warming and its associated impacts. It would set an example for other oil-producing nations, encouraging them to embrace a more sustainable path. The transition to renewable energy could become a global movement, driven by the need to protect our planet for future generations. The younger generation in Saudi Arabia is already showing a keen interest in environmental issues. With the right support and investment, they could lead the charge towards a greener, more sustainable future. Educational programs and community initiatives focused on sustainability could play a crucial role in this transformation. By raising awareness and providing the necessary skills, these programs could empower citizens to contribute to the country's green goals. International collaborations and partnerships would also be essential. By working together with other nations, Saudi Arabia could share knowledge, technology, and resources to accelerate the global transition to clean energy. Saudi Arabia's vision. 2030 plan already outlines a roadmap for reducing its dependence on oil. By fully committing to this vision, the kingdom could not only secure its own future, but also contribute significantly to global environmental efforts. The journey towards a sustainable future would be challenging, but the rewards would be immense. Cleaner air, healthier ecosystems, and a more resilient economy are just a few of the benefits that await. In the end, the unexpected silver lining of the end of Saudi oil could be the dawn of a new, greener era. An era where the kingdom leads by example, showing the world that it's possible to thrive without compromising the environment.